fam.
Yes.
So a lot of people call Bernie Sanders a communist. A lot of people say that he's this crazy radical socialist that's going to take this country into being Venezuela. And that couldn't be further from the truth, because Venezuela is Venezuela mainly because of us and the sanctions we impose. But apart from that, the idea that Bernie Sanders is a crazy socialist is just wrong. And it's backed by not only some economists, but some very respected business people in the field. And this guy, he was at a CEO investor forum in New York, and he pretty much pointed out that the way some Americans talk about Bernie is just completely ignorant.
Yeah.
And he said when people talk Bernie Sanders as if he's a communist, they show a profound ignorance of the market and of history. His name is Stein, and he also said that while he doesn't agree with all of Sanders's proposals, that they're not radical from a historical and global perspective. Sanders is actually a centrist by the standards of some of our closest and most prosperous European allies, as I said before. And this is the guy, Leo Stein. And he said there is profound economic insecurity. That is the sort of thing that happened in the late 20s and 30s, and that we overcame with New Deal democracy, which became a role model for market dynamism, and that was tempered by fairness for everybody. And then he goes on to talk about how his proposals are similar to FDR's, and how this is needed to raise people out of poverty. And he says Sanders' ideology is not too far removed from Franklin Delano Roosevelt's New Deal vision, and Americans need to shed this Cold War mindset that intensified alongside the rise of neoliberalism in the late 1970s. And this is true, especially if you want to talk to people who are afraid of the word democratic socialist. Because Bernie isn't really like that radical at all. I mean, like he said, like a bunch of people are trying to make people understand. If you look back at the economic policies and this economic situation from the 20s and the 30s, and you compare it to now, it's very, very similar. And the way to get people out of this economic situation, you have to implement strong, bold economic policies like that, including like a federal jobs guarantee, including a sort of Medicare for all, to raise people out of poverty, put money back in their pockets, and have them spend money. Bernie Sanders isn't calling for the abolition of property. He's not even calling for the abolition of like commerce and markets. So there's no way in hell that he's even a socialist to begin with, you know. And I think just kind of destroying that concept is key to making people understand that, you know, this guy he's not even Evo Morales. He's not even that far left.
Yeah. It's so funny because I remember this is these labels, and this is where we're at, because, you know, Donald Trump, a lot of people think, oh, he's dumb and he's a racist. Well, I don't know if he's a racist or not, but I know he's a race baiter. I know he knows how to bait these people, and he does the same thing when it comes to this. When it comes to socialism, whatever, he goes, it's not that socialism has been blindly implemented. I'm sorry. It's not that socialism has been blindly implemented. It's that it's been faithfully implemented. I'm sorry. I just saw him say that the other day. And it reminds me of when I'm on bank. I was online at the bank the other day, and it was just so funny. And I was talking about Bernie Sanders, and I was talking about it. And the gentleman in front of me was an older guy. Look, what are you guys doing? You commies, you guys, they're awful. Socialism is terrible. And I don't know what you guys are going to ruin America. And then he goes to the window and he puts his check down, and the lady's like, sir, you're cashing your Social Security check today? It's like, guys, is this kind of, and that's the thing. We're not going to have this kind of brand of socialism that was like, you know, back in the Stalin days. We're going to have our own brand of socialism.
He's not a I mean, he could be. This is an argument another person brought up on my Facebook with. Maybe personally, Bernie Sanders is more to the left than what he's presenting, right? Because personally, I'm more to the left than what I'm voting for, because I really don't have any other option here. But, you know, and that's the thing, like there's a sort of level where you do have to be some sort of pragmatic, because there's a lot of actual communists in America and in Canada that are very, you know, are like, well, he's not even really a socialist and he should do this and that. But it's like, in order to get to a certain more openness, to have more of these different sort of ideologies, you need to have someone in there that's willing to bring those people in. And Bernie Sanders is that guy. And you know, and I firmly believe like once we have somebody like that, it's going to initiate this momentum to have more of an openness and have maybe 3rd, 4th, 5 parties. And then ranked choice voting is another thing that we need to continue pushing for, because that's going to prop up Green Party candidates and et cetera. So,
yeah. And I think the fact is people, and I've heard Bernie Sanders say this before, it's like we're already in a quasi kind of socialist type of government. We have social securities, we have a police force, we have a public schools,
libraries,
we have a lot
roads.
of things like that. He
Military.
just wants, yes, he just wants to improve the safety nets for some and lower the complete extraction by those up top who keep on extracting all the finances. He wants to just kind of even keel that out, because we are one planet, we are one people, we need to live together, we have to protect our planet, Mother Earth, and we have to live together. And the only reason why we have so many poor is because there's a small group that want to be uber rich and hog all those resources. And at the end of the day, that's what we have to combat.
Right.
I know the labels kind of scare people, and that's good thing about Tulsi is that she doesn't have those labels. And even though Bernie unjustly has a bad label that really he doesn't deserve. He's a New Deal Democrat, just like FDR, and he wants to protect those same things. It's FDR's vision in what he's pushing
and I'll
for.
say that the majority of Bernie supporters who are like me are actually to the left of him, but they're willing to understand, like, okay, this is where we are, this is what we're doing, and etc. And I do like that Tulsi doesn't have any labels, because that helps her bring voters that are independent or even to the right, who are just disgruntled with the right. And it's important because I think that'll have play later on, and also because if you look at her policies, they're progressive policies.
Yeah.
So I don't really care what she calls herself.
Yeah, and it's so funny because she's moved further to the left, and yet she's getting smeared by some left channels like TYT on a regular basis, when, like, you know, they used to praise her at one point, and now she's even evolved on certain issues, especially when it comes to foreign policy and other. I mean, she's just gotten better, and she's listened. I mean, I believe she's one of the only candidates that stands for reparations too, right?
Yeah,
her,
she's
Marianne Williamson,
and Bernie.
I mean, like, they're the few, and once again, she just gets crucified by some people on the left that call her trash, and I hate it.